I have a question for you. Have you heard of the Mod State podcast? If you haven't, then you need to hear about it. And lucky for you, I'm here to tell you about it. The Mod State podcast is a show that discusses current events, major cultural and political topics. John and Nathan are the guys who host the show. They have opposing viewpoints, and they try to come to a common solution, and they continue to try to have healthy debate and remain friends. America is in a polarized time where there's so many topics and so many different opinions and ideas about things and how to run the country, and really it's about what can we agree on. And that is why I love the Mod State podcast. I listen to it, and you should too. Go to modstate.com, listen to it, subscribe on iTunes, subscribe to it, and just listen to it. And you may hear opinions that you don't like. You may hear opinions that you do like. But take those opinions that they say with their different ideas, and maybe you'll learn something. Modstate.com. Listen to the Mod State podcast today. I listen to it, and you should too. Modstate.com.
This is the Zach Cox Show.
Imagine for a minute that you're a police officer and you're responding to a domestic disturbance. You're in your police car, driving to the house. You know that domestic violence calls are one of the most dangerous calls to a police officer because you never know what can happen. After driving for what feels like forever, you finally arrive. You take a deep breath. You're ready to do your job. You take a glance before you get out of your car over at the picture of your family and you. You think about how much you love them. You step out of your car, ready to go to work, ready to be a professional, not knowing that in minutes your family's life is going to change forever, and the officers and the department that you work for, their lives are going to change forever, and yours will be over.
It's Monday, January 1st, 2018. This is the Zach Cox Show.
Sunday in Colorado, Douglas County, Colorado, police responded to a domestic violence call, and it turned deadly. One deputy is dead, and several others are injured. They were going to the Cooper Canyon Apartments in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, on Sunday morning when in the complex reportedly opened fire, somebody did, at police officers. Police did not immediately confirm that the shooter was involved in the domestic disturbance call that prompted their arrival on scene. It was not immediately clear what caused the shooter to open fire, but police immediately advised all area residents to shelter indoors, and a SWAT team arrived on the scene thereafter. The shooter was ultimately taken down by police and was believed to be dead at the scene, according to NPR. Before he was killed, however, he managed to shoot at 5 deputies and 2 civilians, according to the Douglas County Sheriff's Department. The deputies were rushed to Littleton Hospital, where one has been pronounced dead. From the Douglas County Sheriff's Twitter. If you're listening to this, go follow them. DC Sheriff, at DC Sheriff. Follow them and show them your love. Show them what America is and what we can do, and show them that blue lives do matter, that we care about them. It says, this tweet from their Twitter account says, Cooper Canyon OIS update. Deputies responded to a domestic disturbance resulting in shots fired. 5 deputies shot by suspect. 1 deputy confirmed deceased. 2 civilians also shot by suspect. Suspect shot and believed to be dead and is no longer a threat. Police have not yet released the name of the alleged shooter, nor offered any possible motive for the shooting. This story is developing, and at the time, from theblaze.com, they were still working on updating the story as it continues. And of course, this is New Year's Day, and that was yesterday. That this happened yesterday morning. That is something that, honestly, this story, I didn't see much about it. And it was interesting how they'll spend more time on the news talking about an old lady that does yoga when she's 95, or they'll talk about somebody who they're transgender, yet they fail to recognize crimes against police. If another black man was shot right now, you would hear more about that than this story. And we have to change that. How do we change that? That's the question. How is it that we will start to be able to change that? Where we go from us loving and caring about police officers, knowing that they are safe. The few times I've been pulled over, I've always said, thank you for your service. And that is a very important thing to say, because I don't think that they are recognized enough for what they do, for the job that they do, for putting their lives on the line every single day. And it reminds me that about a year ago, 2 police officers were shot in the middle of in the middle of the day in New York, in retaliation for supposedly black people being shot by police officers. And you look at that and you think, well, that's obviously a sick individual. And you wonder, why does that happen? Why are there shootings? Why are people being shot? Why are these happening? Why are people going into churches and shooting up churches? And honestly, I believe we need to be protecting our churches. And I'll tell you that one of the biggest problems that we have with shootings and all those things going on is because the left is saying we have to radicalize, we have to take care of these things, these injustices that we see. I see all the time on Twitter, hashtag resistance, What is the resistance? What do they stand for? Who are they? And I'm sure those people have they have ideas in their minds because of things that they've experienced, different things that have happened in their lives, and they do things based on their motives are based on what they feel rather than what they know. And you can't go by what you feel. You can't do that. If we do that, we will always go down the wrong road. Every time. It never leads to a good road. When we go by what we feel, we get like in 2010. Let me tell you this. In 2010, in France, they were protesting in the streets, destroying things, doing all these crazy things. And we knew that was coming to America. We knew that was going to happen. And that was the uber left, the far left, not the far right. And those people were saying that we have to rise up, we have to overthrow, we have to install a certain type of government. We have to make sure that these injustices that we see with people starving all over the country, dogs not being fed, cats being thin, and people eating cows and people eating chicken, and Chick-fil-A, they hate gay people. And we also have to make sure that we get rid of anything that's Christian. We have to make sure to get rid of anything that's not, anything that promotes any sort of idea of a God or a higher being or anything like that. We have to get rid of that. But if they're Muslims, we need to love them because they are not bad people. They're good people. They're just misunderstood. They're too busy thinking that than actually knowing the truth and knowing what they should do and how we are to fix our government. I am convinced that some people don't believe our government needs to be fixed. I am convinced some people believe that it's better off just to completely destroy it and do something to where everybody is treated completely equally, and a world where my dog can be transgender and identify as a small dog, or my small dog can identify as a big dog, whatever she wants to do. That is what they are busy thinking, which leads to them not being able to put anything good into the fight to make our country, I'd say make our country great again. And that is the reason why Donald Trump got elected. Not because, he did this, not because he did that, because, not because Russia was in the election or anything like that. He won because the American people are tired of having to deal with people who really don't know what they're doing. People who are completely and utterly insane. People who believe that it's more important to go on an apology tour saying we're sorry for this, we're sorry for that, than to actually say, you know what, let's get down to work. Let's actually make some change. Let's do something good in our country. Instead of arguing with everyone, saying they're wrong, and saying why there's only one right way. There is definitely what's right and what's wrong. There is definitely two different sides. And I know that liberals, they say that we shouldn't have to, force children to be starving everywhere, all over the world. And I understand that. I understand that we have to do that. But money is not infinite. Any kind of money, eventually you will run out of money. And the reason why we have such a big national debt is because of democratic governments, because of people who think it's better to spend money and just not know how to run a government. And we've had that happen for way too long. We've had so many people just not properly really running our country properly. Look at Detroit and see how Detroit is. And see how messed up it is. How destroyed it is. And understand that is not the way that a city is supposed to be. Over 50 years of democratic rule has destroyed Detroit. And they have told black people that they care about them. And that's the way the Democrats do. They say they care about everything, except for white people, even though most of them are white people. Very interesting. I wonder why more black people voted in inner cities for Donald J. Trump. Most that inner cities and black people have ever voted for a Republican, overwhelmingly, they like him. And why? Because they're going to give him, he's going to do things that will help them in their situations. And that is why there is a right side. There is right and there is wrong. And Democrats don't think that police lives matter. But just a few weeks ago, Donald Trump said something and they were defending the FBI, even though they love it when cops are dead in the streets. That is something that still blows my mind, completely confuses me. And we need to search ourselves and look inside of us and see what we know is right and what we know is wrong. And morally, what we stand for and what we don't stand for. And everything else will stand into place. Whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God. Whether you you believe in the flying spaghetti monster or you're a Scientologist. I think we all have the same basic ideas. And we need to start talking about those and having a dialogue. We have decided to do the podcast and the show and everything differently than we have before in the past. We are giving you a new experience, which is more story-based and fact-based than ever before. Stories connect us, and that's what we're wanting to do. That's what we're looking for. To give you those and give you more facts, more truth than we ever have before. And I hope that you like the new format, and I hope that you support us, give us feedback. If you don't like something, just let us know. Don't be a jerk about it, or else we'll be a jerk back and we'll call you out on it. So we're ready to start the new year off right. And with a new show format, with a new focus, a better focus than we ever have before, to really help our country out. And maybe we're the only ones left who are sane enough to stand up and stand for the truth and stand for what's right. But maybe we're not. And I believe we're going to go on a journey, and we're going to be part of a movement, part of a group of amazing, amazing people. And I believe there are millions and millions of people out there who feel the same way I do. And that is why we're doing this, because we need to come together and we need to make a change for the best and for what is right, and stand for the principles that we know we believe in, and stand for God, and stand for his word, and stand for the love that he shares with the world. And it's a new year. It's a new attitude. Let's make it great. We'll be right back.
This is CBS News on the Hour.
I'm Jim Taylor. Violent, deadly protests sweeping Iran. State TV reports at least 12 are dead now in anti-government demonstrations across the country. CBS News producer Saeed Batai is in Tehran.
According to the reaction from the security forces and police, it went violent in some places. And in some cities, even some people were shot dead by the police or by someone else. But the government has not taken responsibility for shooting them.
The government is promising an iron fist crackdown on demonstrators there. It's one of the grandest parades in America. Tournament of Roses Parade, Pasadena. CBS's Steve Futterman there, along with hundreds of thousands of others right now enjoying it.
We have seen all sorts of spectacular flower-covered floats along with the marching bands. One of the floats that seemed to attract much attention was a giant dragon. Its tail moved, its head moved, and from its nose even came some smoke.
Following the parade, the Rose Bowl, featuring Georgia and Oklahoma. One of them will play for the national championship the following week. For California cannabis connoisseurs, it's like being a kid in a candy store. The era of legal pot starts today.
With these scissors, I dub thee free.
At a dispensary in Oakland, one of the many holding grand openings today, KCBS's Tim Ryan.
They sell smokable marijuana, edible marijuana, little marijuana plants. There's even marijuana-infused coffee. Now, the people who lined up, some all night long, to be the first to buy this legally say they knew this day would eventually come. They're happy that it has. They're not happy with the taxes. Here in Oakland, more than 30%.
Which explains why some analysts expect legalized marijuana to raise as much as $1 billion in tax revenue in 2018 alone for California. Deadly crash of a small plane in Costa Rica, investigation underway.
Given the fact that there were 10 Americans on board and it's an American-built aircraft, the NTSB will be invited to participate in this investigation that will be led by the Costa Rican authorities.
Former head of the NTSB, CBS transportation safety analyst Mark Rosenker there. A New Jersey 16-year-old is in custody for the murders of 4 people. They all lived in the same home in Long Branch. Monmouth County prosecutor Chris Gramaccioni.
The 4 individuals that were killed were his the 16-year-old's 2 parents, his sister, and a family friend who lived at the residence.
Evidence points to the use of a semi-automatic rifle. 2 more head coaches fired from the National Football League. That's 4 less than 24 hours since the end of the regular season. John Fox gone from the Chicago Bears. Jim Caldwell fired by the Detroit Lions. They joined the Raiders. Jack Del Rio and Chuck Pagano from the Colts. This is CBS News.
If you're a CPAP user, soap and water cleaning may leave harmful bacteria, viruses, and mold that can make you sick. That alone will keep you up at night. Until now, SoClean.com is the world's first and only automated, hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. SoClean kills 99.9% of all CPAP germs without soap, water, harsh chemicals, or even equipment disassembly. And now, you can try it risk-free for 30 days. Call 1-800-912-7630.
SoClean changed the CPAP experience for the better. My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean's revolutionary design makes it easy to clean your CPAP and protect you against CPAP-related illnesses. Plus, SoClean works with all popular CPAP devices to clean them in minutes. It really is that easy. Don't risk your health. Call SoClean.com now to try it risk-free for 30 days. Call 1-800-912-7630. This offer won't last. Call now. 800-912-7630. 800-912-7630.
This is the Zach Cox Show.
Welcome back to the show. So, did you know that there were things in 2017 which were not covered by the media? Whether intentional or not intentional, whatever happened, it happened. And a lot of news stories were not covered in 2017, and it's important that we talk about those, and that you know exactly what they were and what we need to watch for in 2018 to make sure that there are certain things that do not happen again. And it's really interesting. This article from Zero Hedge. The government continued its push to spy on you indiscriminately. When Edward Snowden revealed to the American public the extent of the federal government's surveillance programs, the country was outraged for a few fleeting moments. But the issue of privacy violations was largely faded into obscurity since then, even as the government's push for these policies continued. Before leaving office, Obama granted more surveillance authority to federal agencies, and once Trump took office, his administration began pushing to reauthorize the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which was not the government to engage in mass warrantless surveillance of Americans as foreigners. Phone calls, text messages, emails, and other electronic communication. It was passed in 2007 and reauthorized in 2012, but is set to expire on December 31st of this year. So, yesterday. Congress's work this year pushed through a renewal with tepid reforms. Though it now appears lawmakers may fail to reauthorize the bill before it expires on New Year's Eve yesterday. Nevertheless, the ongoing push, governmental board in charge of holding the government accountable for its surveillance acts. Number 2, the media and government selectively informed the public about North Korea. North Korea has dominated headlines for months, with the media constantly warning of imminent danger and repeatedly fear-mongering about perceived threat. What has began grossly unreported, however, is not only the U.S. military's historical dissemination of North Korea and its people, but also the North Korean regime's willingness to engage in talks. North Korean officials have repeatedly stated they are willing to compromise and their weapons programs if the U.S. backs off its military grandstanding, as the North Korean ambassador to the UN told Reuters in November. Number 3, just as in the Obama years, the civilian death toll from American military operations was swept under the rug. In other words, a lot of people died, and they acted like nobody cared. Like it didn't matter. That's a problem. Number 4, police violence continues. We were just talking about that earlier today. It's ridiculous what happens. It's ridiculous what has been going on to cover up what is going on with the police being shot, but police officers being killed. When does it end? Does it end? I believe it'll end when the left quits radicalizing people. They radicalize them in schools. And that's never good. It's bad. It's we have to do something about it. You have to put your kids in private school or homeschool them. Don't let them go to public school, because it is a haven for the liberals. And if you do have to make them, if they do have to go to public school, make sure that they know the difference between right and left, right and wrong, and let them decide and make a decision on their own. The world moves on from the American empire. As U.S. foreign policy continues to create unintended consequences, other global players are moving to lessen their dependence on America and the U.S. dollar. From Venezuela to Pakistan and Iran, countries are opting to continue their oil transactions outside of the long dominant U.S. American currency. In addition, they are forming alliances. For example, Turkey, which has for years has been somewhat of a U.S. ally, has strengthened ties with Russia. Iran and Qatar have mended ties, and even staunch U.S. ally Saudi Arabia is hedging its own bets, hedging its own bets by building up business ties with Russia and China. The EU has also signaled its intention to become less dependent on the U.S. moving to its own army. And number 7, weed keeps winning. Despite the terrible news and seemingly unending flows of negativity, cannabis continues to make gains, even though the stories about individual development have mounted in the mainstream. The breadth of the evolution is difficult to fully capture. And those are the things that were not reported about, were not being talked about. In 2017, in 2018, we have to change the dialogue. We have to make sure that we are aware of what is happening and what is going on, what's really happening and what's really going on. And we need to delve deep and work hard to know the truth, find the truth, live it, love it, learn it, and know it. And the people around us also have to. Let's dedicate ourselves this year to God, our family, and our country. I believe if we do those things, that we will start to become a nation once again that knows what we were founded on, knows what we're about, and a country that can withstand pretty much anything. And let's be honest with ourselves. And let's be real with ourselves and with those around us. Stand for truth. Stand for love. And stand for what God says. Because that is what our country was founded on, is what God's word says. So let's instill that into our lives. And let's know what we need to do moving forward to continue to make our nation a more perfect union, to make us amazing, and to make us great. And let's stop arguing. Let's stop fighting about things that don't matter. And stand for what is right and for what is real. Let's do that in 2018. I'm doing that. And you should too. We're going to start having more dialogues, more conversations about things that are going on. Sharing more stories, more news, dissecting it, and understanding what is real. And give you news and politics and things that are going on from a different perspective than you might be used to. And let's stand for what is right. And we need you to help us keep this show going and growing. Subscribe to us on YouTube here. Also, follow me on Twitter at Zach_Halcox. You can also find me on Instagram at Zach_Halcox, like our page on Facebook, Zach Halcox. Just search that, you'll find me. And you can find everything else that I do on YouTube. Search Zach Halcox, and you could just do a Google search and find me, Zach Halcox. And also, we need you to help us. We just need you to help us to keep this show going and growing, because it is a movement, and it does require the people to do things like sharing it and telling other people about it, saying, hey, I know this show, that's really great. And don't forget to help me by sharing this show, subscribing to us on YouTube, following us on Twitter, interacting with us in any way possible, in every way that you want to, except for sending us weird pictures in the middle of the night. That would be awkward. So, we're coming back this year, and we're refreshed, we're renewed, we're new again, and we are ready to rock and roll. We're ready to make this happen. So share the show, do everything that you can to keep it going and growing. We are independent media, truly independent media, which means that we do need you to help us. And it's expensive to do this. And there are many ways to help us. We make money off of our YouTube videos and everything, and also the advertisements in this show. Don't forget to go and follow and subscribe to the Mod State Podcast. It is an amazing podcast. Different opinions. You may hear something that you don't like, but hey, if you listen to it, you might hear something that you might actually agree with, even though it's on the opposite side of your political leaning. And with that being said, we are now out of time for the show. And so, do everything that I said, or else we're going to have some problems. So share the show, help us keep going and growing. Have faith in God, have faith in America, and long live the Republic. I'll see you next week.